Chapter 71, Lend Me Your Chakra. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Humph, you have really lost the prestige of our mist ninja village. A masked ninja walked out of the darkness. It's Lord Kushimaru of the Seven People. The leading Kiri ninja's face showed joy. In the battle at the Northwest Pass, Zigwish and Pufferfish Ghost and Black Holia were killed. However, the appearance of Kurihara Kushimaru, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, was still a boost for them. Humph, there are strong and weak among the 7 people. Watermelon Mountain and Thunderya can only be regarded as inferiors. How can they compare with me? Kuretari Kushimaru said coldly. Loquat Juzang, who is on the mission this time, is even better at the silent killing technique. If I join forces with him, even if that person comes, he will still die. Listening to these boastful words, everyone did not dare to make a mistake. Loquat Juzo is good at beheading with a broadsword, and coupled with the Kirigakure technique of silent killing, he can kill people invisible. However, this method would be even more powerful if paired with Kushimaru's long knife and needle. In the mist, under the spider sutures cast by the long knife and needle, who would find the steel thread as big as a hair? If he is discovered, his head may be missing. Kushimaru, you're using me to brag to you again. Loquat Juzong's voice suddenly came. While all the mist ninjas were tensed, they soon saw a figure rushing out of the woods. It's Master Juzong. The Jounin who took the lead had joy flashing in his eyes. During the capture just now, with Loquat Juzo serving as a backup, they were still worried about what danger they would encounter. Now that Loquat Juzong can come back alive to join them, that means the mission is over perfectly. Juzu, you're still dragging your feet, isn't it just to deal with a few brats in Konoha? It takes so much time. Kurihara Kushimaru said unhappily, there is no one left alive. If you owe something, maybe I can help you deal with the aftermath. In the eyes of the outside world, the 7 ninja swordsmen seem to be a group. However, the Mist Ninja Village advocates that the strong are respected, and is also known as the Blood Mist Village. There are still many open and secret fights among the 7 people. It is true that I owe something. Loquat Juzo landed next to Kurumi Kushimaru, and his fingers suddenly tightened around the beheading sword, directly slashed towards Kurumi Kushimaru across the air. I still owe you this head. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. At such a close distance, even Kurumi Kushimaru couldn't react for a moment. He could only hurriedly raise the long knife and needle in his hand to block. However, in the face of the powerful and heavy decapitating sword, this defense is obviously insufficient. One stabbing blow would probably destroy half of his neck. 3 tails, the third Mizukage shouted angrily. A scarlet tail rushed out of his body and directly hit the decapitating knife. Dang! The crisp sound of metal collision suddenly sounded. The power of the tailed beast was so great that the decapitating sword in Juzong Loquat's hand almost flew out of his hand. After missing the blow, Loquat Juzo didn't have time to think too much, and quickly used Kirigakure's technique, and quickly retreated away. Juzu, who gave you the confidence to assassinate me? It's too late to leave now. Kurisu Kushimaru shouted in shame and anger. A moment ago, he was boasting that he could easily assassinate his enemies by joining forces with Loquat Juzong. I didn't expect the slap in the face to be so fast, and there was a snapping sound immediately. Ninpo, Earth Spider Stitch, the long knife and needle in Kushimaru's hand came out instantly. The steel wires were like spider webs, winding around Loquat Juzong's body. Wind Escape, Wind Breakthrough, the third Mizukage was also taking action, and the flying seal fell. The fog that filled the sky was instantly blown away. Seeing Loquat Juzong's figure, he had just taken 7 or 8 steps, and while his face showed joy, his pupils suddenly shrank. A ghost-like figure appeared in front of Kurumi Kushimaru. The ferocious blade in his hand turned out to be Samaji. I'll lend you your chakra, my friend. Chinyu smiled playfully, and with the muscles in his right hand protruding, his strength suddenly surged, and the Samahata muscle in his hand struck at Kuretari Kushimaru. Phew! Blood spurted out, and the huge head was thrown away. He just shot out the long knife and needle in his hand, and he never thought that there would be a figure hidden in the mist. Moreover, what this person is holding is the great sword shark muscle of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon. Does this mean that the person in front of him is the rumored bloody Azura Uchiha Chinyu, too young? This was the last thought that flashed through Kurumi Kushimaru's mind. Looking at the young man in front of him, the sky and the earth were constantly flying, and Kuretsumaru's head hit the ground heavily, died. The faces of the mist ninja present changed drastically. 1 moment ago, the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kurika Kushimaru, were talking about running a train and bragging about being fearless. In a confrontation, he was beheaded. This is too shocking. Chin-yu, you're here. Noera Lin was awakened from a coma. The moment I saw the figure in front of me clearly, tears filled my eyes. When she went to the battlefield, Noera Lin was already determined to die. When she was captured, she already had the awareness of death, but at the critical moment, being rescued by someone, this feeling cannot be described in words, at least at this moment. Noera Lin's heart seemed to be moved by an invisible hand. Yes, is it bloody Azura Uchiha Chin-yu? Oh my god, why is he here? Is he the killing god in the Northwest Pass? The scene suddenly became chaotic. The fog ninjas around them all pulled away and retreated violently. At this moment, in their eyes, only by being around the third Mizukage could they feel a sense of security. Click, click, click. The sound of chewing came from within Samahata. Wave after wave of chakra was transported into Chin-yu's body by the same shark muscles, and he felt the chakra gradually filling up. Chin-yu did not continue to pursue, but looked at the third-generation water shadow not far away. In the Mist Ninja Village, the third-generation Mizukage is the most mysterious. Being able to be chosen to become the third-generation Mizukage even when the second-generation Mizukage, the Demon Moon and the second Tsuchikage both died, is definitely the best among the Kage level. However, looking at the face covered with scales, Chin-yu finally understood why the third generation of Mizukage had remained mysterious. It turns out that you are a failed Jinchuriki. Chin-yu said lightly. As soon as these words were spoken, many people's nerves became tense. Even Loquat Juzo is no exception. Chapter 72. Are you going to let me be the Mizukage? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boss, why do you say that? Loquat Juzong couldn't hold back his anger. He surrendered and became Chin-yu's younger brother. However, he has always been one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Loquat Juzo, one of the 7, is also very interested in the third-generation Mizukage who has always maintained a sense of mystery. After all, in the Mist Ninja Village, the strong are respected, and each of the 7 of them has a rebellious heart. I also feel dissatisfied with the third Mizukage who always maintains a so-called sense of mystery. Now Chin-yu suddenly told them that the third Mizukage was a failed Jinchuriki, which obviously touched their minds. I didn't expect that even the always rebellious Loquat Juzo would surrender. It seems that I really underestimated you. The third-generation Mizukage's hoarse voice sounded. Suddenly, when he raised his head, his cloak was lifted up by the wind, revealing a face covered with scales. It feels like a fishman. Is this the true face of the third Mizukage? The expressions of the Mist Ninja present changed dramatically, and some even took half a step back uncontrollably. Seeing this scene, even Loquat Juzo's pupils couldn't help but shrink. No wonder you were so eager to abduct Noera Lin and took such a big risk to sneak into the hinterland of the Kingdom of Earth. Chin-yu did not feel the surprise and said, it seems that the seal in your body can no longer hold on for long. Will soon be counterattacked by the tailed beast. There is also a small country between the Kingdom of Water and the Kingdom of Earth. Taking such a long time to sneak in and catch someone is enough to prove the seriousness of the situation. Moreover, in the original work, after Noera Rin failed as a tailed beast weapon, she was directly inherited by the fourth Mizukage Yagura. Chin-yu guessed that something fishy was going on. Now it seems that Meng's guess was correct. Are you the hidden genius of Konoha, bloody Azura Uchiha Chin-yu? The third generation Mizukage didn't care about his appearance. He raised his green eyes and said, among the young people, you are really the best. Very good, you can see that there is something wrong with my seal. If it is someone from our Mist Ninja Village, you think it would be great. The incomprehensible words made everyone present startled. Chin-yu smiled playfully and said, Lord Mizukage, are you planning to recruit me to the Mist Ninja Village and give me the position of the fourth Mizukage? The conditions are indeed good. You are indeed a smart person, but you are never from our village, and you, the Uchiha clan, have a lot of scandals and are also troublesome characters in Konoha. If I give you the position of Mizukage, I'm afraid the Mist Ninja Village will be changed to another village. The third Mizukage shook his head and said. Although I can't give you the Mizukage's position, as long as you join our Mist Ninja Village, I can make the decision for you to become the Great Elder and exercise the greatest power under the Mizukage, including the power of life and death. As soon as he said these words, the faces of the Mist Ninjas in the field suddenly changed. Among the 7 people with Ninja Swordsman, Zigwish and Pufferfish Ghost, Black Holia, and Li Ziechunwan were all killed by Chinyu, the rebellious Loquat Juzo. Was willing to surrender. Only 3 of the 7 ninja swordsmen were left. Now Chinyu is allowed to become the Great Elder of the Kingdom of Water, able to exercise the power of life and death. This is simply a nightmare for them. Boy, have you considered it? The third Mizukage spoke again. Chinyu smiled playfully and said, it seems that I am still underestimated. A mere shabby village cannot satisfy my ambition at all. My goal is the entire ninja world. No, it should be said that my goals are not limited to this world. Madman. Listening to these words, the only thought flashed in everyone's mind, he refused even this kind of sweet and sour food, and at the same time openly said such crazy things, that would challenge the authority of the entire ninja world. The third Mizukage's expression also changed slightly, his face darkened, and he said, boy, you are too arrogant. It seems that we can't talk. Yes, we can't talk anymore, so should we do something? Chinyu said playfully. Such a provocative move made the third Mizukage's face extremely gloomy, murderous intent flashed in his pupils, and he roared angrily. Okay, since we can't talk, then you can die with me. Roar! A deafening roar suddenly came from the body of the third Mizukage. The next moment, 3 whip-like tails shot out from behind and whipped Chinyu directly. As soon as he takes action, he will completely transform into a tailed beast. No. It should be said that it was the third Mizukage who clearly planned to give up suppressing the tailed beast and just let it go berserk. The sudden attack was simply overwhelming, and during the whipping process, the tail continued to enlarge. Boss, be careful. Loquat Juzong's expression changed dramatically. Facing the liberation of the 3-tailed beast, he had the urge to support him, but facing the ferocious power of the tailed beast, he was obviously not able to fight it. Step back, this tailed beast is interesting, you can play with it. Chinyu smiled playfully. The 9 Magatama Sharingan turned down in vain, and the blood-colored EyePower surged out like a frenzy, instantly transforming into Susanoo. Boom! 3 thick tails, like iron whips, hit Susanoo's body hard. The huge impact whipped up a gust of wind, shaking even the surrounding trees. However, facing this blow, not to mention Chinyu who was inside Susanoo, not even Susanoo could shake him. Blade of Black Flame, Garuda. As Chinyu thought, the 9 Magatama Sharingan turned wildly, and the black flames in Susanoo's right hand surged, instantly condensing a blade burning with blazing flames. There is no hint of fancy, just cut off the 3 tails. The sudden blow made the third Mizukage's pupils flash with a look of surprise. Without any time to think, he quickly pulled his tail back. At the same time, his mouth opened, and a huge amount of chakra was poured into it, detonating. Like a frenzy, water escape, great waterfall technique. The endless water, like a furious wave, rushes towards the black flames. However, with a slight touch, the endless river water was instantly evaporated, and the black flame blade chased one of its tails. Phew! The sound of tearing cloth suddenly sounded. The sharpness of the black flame blade surprised even Chinyu. Although he had seen Uchiha Sasuke using Amaterasu as an arrow in the original work, he did not expect it to be so powerful. No. It should be said that the current power is stronger than Uchiha Sasuke's. The huge tail was chopped off at the waist. The black flame spread rapidly to both sides like maggots on the toes. Roar! The scorching heat and the heartbreaking pain made Sanweiji Fuziruo roar crazily. Just now he had taken over the entire will of the third Mizukage. However, it only revealed the state of half a Jinchuriki. In the eyes of Sanwei Isafu, facing a mere brat, this was enough. He never expected that the slap in the face would come so quickly. Chapter 73, Even the Tailed Beast is Ignored. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the cliff, 2.5 tails were rolling wildly. Under the impact of endless sea water, the jumping black flames were not even half extinguished. Under the impact of a large number of water waves, the speed of spread has slowed down. but if it continues, I am afraid that the tail will not be saved. I'm afraid even my life is no exception. Ahem, I advise you, it's better to cut off the gecko's tail. As a tailed beast, you will be able to recover quickly. Chinyu coughed dryly and acted like a good old man. Of course, if you don't mind the two-tailed cat, you can also make a cameo. The low voice, as if it was filled with magic sound, echoed throughout the whole world. The mist ninjas who were present hurriedly fled to the distance, and even Loquat Juzo looked dumbfounded. For a long time, in their understanding, every tailed beast's uprising was like destroying the world and destroying the earth. Even many elders and elite ninjas in the village sacrificed their lives to be able to suppress it. However, now Chinyu was teasing the tailed beast in front of everyone. The calm posture made them feel like they were in a dream. If they hadn't considered the seriousness of the occasion, they might not have been able to bear it and asked someone to slap them in the face to see if they were dreaming. Boy, you are looking for death, that the three-tailed Isafu roared angrily, like thunder exploding. The entire lake was shaken with endless ripples. The sound made people's eardrums hurt even more. However, this kind of strength could not last for less than 3 seconds. Under the infusion of chakra in Senweiji's mouth, a high-pressure water jet spit out, instantly cutting off the black flame-wrapped tail. The blood was dripping and dyed the entire lake red. Seeing the three-tailed Isafu who really chose to cut off the gecko's tail, everyone in the field was confused. Is this still a tailed beast? Where is the dignity of the tailed beast left? No. It should be said that where did the ferocious power of the tailed beast go? Feeling the changes in the gazes around him, Senweiji touched his cheek and twitched. Seeing Chinyu who was so close, he completely went berserk. Roar. A crazy roar suddenly echoed. At the same time as the three tails grew rapidly, the figure of the third Mizukage was squeezed out, turning into a blood mist that spread across the sky and the earth. A ferocious body measuring dozens of meters quickly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Bloody eyes stared straight at Chinyu. He opened his mouth wide and made a big move with his hand to express the resentment in his heart. Bang bang bang. 3 water cannonballs shot out instantly. At such a close distance, the speed is so fast that there is no way to hide. Well done. Chinyu smiled playfully, but behind Susanoo, a pair of wings instantly spread out and blocked him first. Boom. 3 loud explosions suddenly echoed. The splashing water waves rushed to the sky, raging across the entire world like a heavy rain. The mist ninja and Loquat Juzo in the distance were the first to bear the brunt of the water flow, and they used ninjutsu to block it. However, at this life-threatening moment, they were still unwilling to take their eyes off the battlefield for a moment, lest they miss this shocking battle. They were eager to see how Chinyu could have the confidence to say such teasing words in the face of the legendary tailed beast. Water splashes fell from the sky, and Susanoo's figure appeared again. Faced with this indiscriminate bombardment, Susanoo's defense was obviously not that easy to break. However, Chinyu had just fought with Madara Uchiha, and his power and chakra had been consumed a lot. It would obviously be disadvantageous if he continued to fight for a long time. If his brain wasn't filled with water, he would never fight a tailed beast over chakra. Boy, if you have the guts, don't hide in the turtle shell. Three-tailed Ji-Fu roared like thunder. Ahem, do you have cognitive impairment? You seem to be the bastard. Chinyu coughed dryly and said, but don't say that I bully you. As long as you defeat my men, I will stand and let you go. So what if you hit me? The inexplicable word suddenly sent chills down Loquat Shirzong's spine. The mist ninjas standing not far from him also distanced themselves. In their eyes, looking around the audience, only Loquat Juzong was Chinyu's subordinate. Looking at the ninja world, the 7 ninja swordsmen may be a bit awesome, but in front of Sanwei, he is nothing but scum. Now being pushed out to fight, there is only one outcome. Become cannon fodder. Juzong, don't look like you're mourning. You can't afford to be in this situation. Chinyu rolled his eyes. He put the index finger of his right hand in his mouth and bit it. The moment blood started to flow, he made a stroke on his palm and quickly turned the seal with his hands like a wheel. Is it a psychic technique? Loquat Juzong breathed a sigh of relief, but was also secretly surprised. In his eyes, many people are also good at psychics, but there are probably very few psychic beasts that can channel and fight against tailed beasts, right? Sanwei Jifu was startled at first, and then laughed unbridled. Boy, if you plan to use this little trick to deal with me, you are looking down on me too much. If you can really channel things, it doesn't matter if I give you a pair of hands. The huge sound echoed between heaven and earth. Chinyu smiled playfully and said, I'm just afraid that you will regret that the tail is not enough after a while. Psychic art. As soon as he finished speaking, Chinyu slapped his right hand directly on the ground, boom. The mysterious psychic seal quickly spread around, and the next moment smoke rose into the sky. The three huge bodies are as shocking as iron towers, looking at the psychic beast whose size was not inferior to the three tails, not to mention the decapitating sword in Loquat Juzong's hand. He was so shocked that he fell to the ground. Even Sanwei Isafu almost bit his tongue. Boy, calling us out so quickly is not a game. If there is nothing important, don't blame us for falling out. Gamabunta exhaled a puff of smoke and stared at Chinyu with slightly narrowed eyes. However, compared to it, the pupils of Toad Jian and Toad Guang suddenly shrank. Ahem, I really like what you said, Bunta. You don't even take the tailed beast seriously. This courage is worthy of the boss of Myomushin. The rest of the matter will be solved by the three of you. Don't beat yourself to death. Leave me some breath, I want to catch you alive. Chinyu coughed dryly and said with a smile. Gaowen was so confused that he felt that there was a dead silence in the air just now. He hurriedly turned back to follow the gazes of Toma Takaru and Toma Hiroshi, and the confused look on Sanwei Isaru's face was the first to catch his eye. At this moment, they had an inexplicable feeling of sympathy for each other. They were all tricked. At this moment, Sanwei Isafu couldn't wait to swallow what he just said. This slap in the face was too fast. The ugly toad in front of him might not be afraid of him alone, but now he can summon three of them with one call. This kind of strength cannot be underestimated. Moreover, the leader of the team, Gamabunta, even had sex with a Chibi Shikaku in the original work. As soon as he appeared, both parties recognized him. It seems that in the original work, Gamabunta often had sex with tailed beasts. Perhaps, during the Second War of the Ninja World, Jiraiya let it fight against the tailed beasts. However, compared to the past, Gamabunta felt a little more sympathetic to the three-tailed Isabatsu. It's pretty good for ordinary people to be able to summon one of them to appear at one time. Now Chinyu summoned the three powerful forces of Miamu Mountain to help out, and what followed was inevitably a team-up fight and a single defeat. Fatty's action of beating up the tailed beast. Chapter 74. The tailed beast is also afraid of being beaten by a group of people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On top of huge rocky cliffs, the three-tailed beast was not inferior to the three-tailed beast in the slightest, and he looked straight at the pitiful tailed beast in front of him. The Mist Ninja and Loquat Juzo in the distance also looked confused. They finally understood something at this moment. It is better to offend the Golden Flash than the Bloody Azura, facing the tailed beast. Namikaze Minato's Flying Thunder God technique may not be of much use, but faced with Chinyu's endless methods. The three major psychic beasts are summoned as soon as they are summoned. Will the tailed beasts be allowed to live under this horse? Boy, are you trying to trick us? Gamabunta was not even in the mood to smoke cigarettes anymore. He had just boasted about his awesomeness when he was hit by his awesomeness. Looking at Sanwei's confused face, he felt uncomfortable. After all, this is a real tailed beast. Bunta, you've already blown it. Even if you're kneeling, you still have to take matters into your own hands. Otherwise, you'll be embarrassed by Fukasaku and Shima. Chinyu said with a smile. The expressions of the three big toads couldn't help but change, and they looked at Chinyu with a hint of shock. You actually know about the existence of these two adults? Gamabunta asked anxiously. In Miamu Mountain, the three great immortals are mysterious existences that are difficult for ordinary people to know. Among the many psychic contractors, only Jiraiya knew. This led to the fact that in the original work, after Jiraiya died, if Fukasaku hadn't come to him personally, he might not even know what a sage is. You bastards, how dare you ignore me? Sanwei Jifu roared angrily. As a majestic tailed beast, he has always been feared by others, and has never been ignored by others. With the huge chakra flowing out crazily, Sanweiji opened his mouth suddenly. Tailed beast Jade. Endless chakra was poured in crazily, and an indescribable dangerous aura filled the air. If there's any nonsense, let's talk about it later. Let me solve it first. Chinyu said calmly. Gamabunta hesitated to speak, then snorted coldly and said, Ken, Hiroshi, your movements are not slow, are you? We implement special tactics. Nu. Toma Takaru and Toma Hiroshi agreed in unison. Compared with Toma Bunta, they seemed more honest. Court death. The three tails roared repeatedly. As a tailed beast, it was a shame to be despised by the three psychic beasts. The tailed beast jade accumulated in his mouth suddenly exploded. Phew. The huge water ball with a diameter of 7 to 8 meters instantly penetrated the air and shot towards the three giant toads in a crushing manner. Do it! Gamabunta shouted coldly. The three giant toads are already known for their powerful jumping ability, and with a huge explosion, the cliff, which was already under tremendous pressure, collapsed under this foot, at the same time as the three figures soared into the sky. After the tailed beast jade was shot out of the three tails' mouths, their huge bodies fell straight into the lake below. Boom. The tailed beast jade instantly fell into the air and hit the distant mountain. Endless water waves fell from the sky like a heavy rain. The wind and waves stirred up made it impossible for Loquat Juzong and other fog ninjas to stand. Some large trees that only adults could hug could not bear the impact and were cut off directly. Half of the mountain was destroyed in an instant by the rain that rushed towards him. This horse riding is like a fight between gods, and mortals like them suffer. Not everyone can hide in Susanoo like Chinyu and remain unaffected. Get started, slash with the back of the toad's short sword. Double blades. The toad flies and breaks. Three roars suddenly sounded, making the three tails' nerves suddenly tense as they fell into the lake. However, in mid-air, its huge body cannot move flexibly at all. As soon as his eyes flashed, Gamabunta suddenly kicked off the cliff with his feet, and his huge body appeared in front of him like a cannonball. The short knife in his hand suddenly turned down and struck it in the chest. You're a toad looking for death. Three tails roared angrily. The two tails twitched quickly like a horned dragon, intending to throw Gamabunta head-on. Unfortunately, as soon as it moved, the two huge Tachi swords in Toadairo's hand struck it directly on the back, forcing the two tails down. At the same time, the huge fork in Toad Jian's hand was suddenly thrown out. Unable to dodge in time, Sanwei hit the neck directly. Boom. The attack of the three giant toads exploded with power. Like thunder, the huge body of the three tails flew directly upside down onto the shallow beach of the lake like a sandbag. Along with a shocking roar, the ground was directly smashed into pieces. The huge fork nailed it to the ground. Roar. Sanwei was in dizziness, shaking his head hurriedly, and roaring angrily at the same time. However, as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw three big toads standing in three directions with horn-like postures. With his hands flying rapidly, a series of magic seals were formed. Huge amounts of chakra are being mobilized crazily within their bodies. Combined ninjutsu, Toad Sanshue Kill. The last magic seal was accompanied by a sudden clasping of hands. The water waves rolling around instantly turned into horned dragons, winding towards the three tails crazily. The speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Just a short breath, all of Sanwei's hands, feet were directly tied up, including his mouth. At this moment, the three giant toads used their magic to make the surrounding lake water become their best means of sealing and suppressing it. Boy, we have suppressed the turtle in accordance with your request. Whether you can collect it or kill it depends on yourself. Gamabunta shouted urgently. The three giant toads seemingly suppressed the tailed beasts with ease, mostly through trickery. Moreover, the three tails directly counterattacked the Jinchuriki. Otherwise, if they could cooperate with the Jinchuriki, they would be able to perform more powerful ninjutsu. Unfortunately, two fists are no match for four hands. Tailed beasts are also afraid of being beaten by a group. Facing the three giant toads, Sanwei could only stare and whine unwillingly. I'm here. Chinyu's 9 Magatama Sharingan suddenly turned, and the wings behind Susanoo's back suddenly shook, turning into a stream of light and falling towards the battlefield below. Loquat Juzong and the other mist ninjas, obviously forgetting their current opposing positions, quickly approached the edge of the cliff and stared down with wide eyes. They were eager to see what confidence Chinyu had to take back the tailed beast that was so ferocious that even the third generation of Mizukage could not successfully suppress it. This idea also appeared in the minds of the three toads. Toad Bunta looked at Chin Yu with a hint of amusement. Chapter 75. Even the dignity of the tailed beast is gone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Human, you can't suppress me for too long with the three-headed toad alone. As long as I get away, I will definitely kill you. The three-tailed man couldn't open his mouth, but he was obviously able to speak in other ways. The rolling sound of words echoed between heaven and earth, making people's eardrums hurt. Feeling that Gamabunta was clearly showing no effort, Chin Yu reluctantly dismissed Susanoo and said, "Now I'll give you a chance. Surrender obediently, otherwise I will take action. Give me a chance." A loud laugh came from Sanwei's mouth and said, "You can't even maintain your defense, and you still plan to scare me." "I, Sanwei, am very scared." "Yeah." Chin Yu shook his head helplessly. "Since you drink the fine wine instead of toasting, I can only use force." After speaking inexplicably, Chin Yu suddenly raised his head. As the 9 Magatama Sharingan rotates crazily, if it touches the line of sight slightly, it feels like the whole world is spinning. "Don't look into his eyes." Gamabunta bit his tongue hurriedly. Last time, it suffered from Chin Yu's illusion, so it was able to react in time. Unfortunately, Gao Jian and Gao Guang's experience was obviously insufficient and they had no time to react. He immediately lost consciousness and fell into the illusion space. This scene caused Gamabunta's expression to change drastically, and the sealing technique was suppressed simultaneously by 3 giant toads. Now that both Tomohiro and Tomokan have lost consciousness, it means that the seal will be lifted. Once a furious tailed beast escapes, it will be a fatal blow to them. However, as the seal was lifted, the 3 tails, who had gone berserk, lay on the ground without making any movement. In a pair of eyes, the scarlet 9 Magatama Sharingan mark appeared. The violent scene shook Gamabunta's heart. Even the tailed beast is trapped in the genjutsu. Tai, what happened? Toad Ken and Toad Hiroshi woke up from the illusion, with fear still on their faces. When I thought about the brief distraction just now, if the tailed beast succeeded in sneak attack, the word fall would definitely not be far away from them. It's an illusion. Don't look into that kid's eyes, otherwise you'll fall for it. Gamabunta warned urgently. The expressions of Toad Jian and Toad Guang suddenly changed. They quickly suppressed their curiosity and missed Chin Yu's sight. Seeing that the tailed beasts were trapped in the illusion, before they could break free, a cold air came out from the bottom of their feet. In the consciousness space, Chin Yu saw the 3 tails trapped here. To pull the 3 tails into a deep illusion, it is not difficult to use Chin Yu's perfect Mangekyo Sharingan to perform Tsukuyomi. Moreover, the 3 tails does not have the help of a Jinchuriki, and cannot use 2 chakras of different attributes to collide with each other to dispel the genjutsu internally. It can be said that this is also one of the huge weaknesses of the tailed beast's lack of Jinchuriki. The color of blood is entangled in the space of consciousness, and illusory tailed beast bodies are quickly emerging. The 3 tails were trapped in the middle, with 4 limbs and 3 tails. The 3 tails were nailed to the ground and were bitten crazily. This kind of damage from the mental level is exactly the same as real pain. Kakashi was hit by the Tsukuyomi that day, and it was only for a short moment, but he felt like he had been stabbed by random knives for 3 days and 3 nights. Afterwards, I lay in the ward for more than a week before I finally recovered. This was the Tsukuyomi performed by Itachi Uchiha when he was seriously ill and still had the Mangekyo Sharingan, which was still defective and had not reached the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. In the original work, Madara can control the 9 tails by just staring, and even Uchiha Obito is no exception. This shows that the external strength of the 9-tailed beasts is reflected in chakra. On the spiritual level, it is not enough for the people of the Uchiha clan who have the Mangekyo Sharingan. Now Chin Yu has improved the Mangekyo Sharingan to the extreme through the one-click max level system, reaching the level of 9 Magatama. There were also 3 big toads that suppressed Sanwei at the beginning. It was too easy for Chin Yu to make Sanwei trapped in Tsukuyomi. "Boy, let me go quickly and have a good fight with me." Sanwei roared hysterically, although it knew it was an illusion, but facing Tsukuyomi's pain truly reflected back to itself. The 3 tails now directly felt like it was being bitten by someone like fish on a chopping board. Watching the huge body recover again after being chewed into pieces, the scalp is numb due to the endless cycle. "It seems that you still don't intend to surrender." Chin Yu rested his head on his hands, turned around and left. With my current power, you should stay here for 3 to 5 days. It's okay if someone outside saves you. Otherwise, just enjoy it slowly. Seeing Qin Yu really walking away, and the tearing pain that spread all over his body, even though the three tails had survived for thousands of years, they couldn't bear it anymore. You, what on earth do you want me to do? Sanwei shouted urgently. This was the first time that it was so worried about a human being disappearing in front of it. Qin Yu couldn't help but stop his steps. He turned around and looked at Sanwei, who was holding back the pain, shaking all over in pain and wanting to scream. Qin Yu laughed dryly and said, "Actually, it's nothing. I'm born with a lack of blue. It's also a big move, so the chakra can't keep up, if you are willing to stay by my side. When I don't have enough chakra, just give me a splurge and that's it." A small voice echoed in this space of consciousness. Sanwei couldn't help being startled, and said anxiously, "Is this why you spend so much time on something like this? Don't you need to forcefully control me to go to the battlefield and participate in the war, don't you?" Qin Yu rolled his eyes and sneered, "Is it worth it? You are weaker than me. In my heyday, 10 balls could kill you. If it weren't for the fact that you have a lot of chakra, I wouldn't even bother to take action." Shame. Sanwei was so angry that he was shaking all over. The majestic-tailed beast is a terrifying existence, to be pointed at the nose and said to be a drag. This even robbed the tailed beast of its dignity. If it were anyone else, Sanwei would definitely be in a hurry with him. It's a pity that the current situation is stronger than that of others, and Qin Yu is easily trapped in the illusion space. This anger obviously had no way of breaking out. What's more, if it is as simple as Qin Yu said, this transaction is not unacceptable. Okay, I promise you, but you can't restrict my personal freedom, and you can't seal me at will. Sanwei Isafu finally lost his temper, feeling the stinging pain all over his body. He longed for Qin Yu's response immediately. "Don't worry." Qin Yu rolled his eyes and said, "But don't go back on your word, otherwise don't blame me for turning against you and burning you." Chapter 76, Tailed beasts were actually quite cute when they were young. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Braised? Sanwei's expression suddenly changed. These words sounded like a joke, but after personally experiencing Qin Yu's methods, it knows very well that the other party can definitely do it. This battle starts from the beginning until now. Except for the initial battle, the 3 giant toads were summoned to participate in the battle, although the 3 tails were suppressed by the seal and their strength was greatly weakened. But Qin Yu was able to pull it into the illusion space with just one. Look, this is enough to prove how big the gap between the two sides is. Okay, let's go out now. The blood in Qin Yu's eyes rolled back like a tide. The phantoms in the 3-tailed consciousness space dispersed between heaven and earth, and the next moment Qin Yu disappeared out of thin air. In the outside world, everything that happens in the conscious space seems very complicated and very long. However, in the eyes of the 3 big toads, it was just a blink of an eye. Seeing the reflection of the 9 Magatama Sharingan in the 3-tailed pupils suddenly disappear, their nerves suddenly became tense. I'm afraid that kid failed. Let's quickly re-implement the sealing technique. Gamabunta shouted urgently. It didn't want to obey Qin Yu's order, but at this juncture, it couldn't allow it to think too much. If the 3 tails were allowed to go berserk successfully, they would not be able to bear the burden of walking around. What's all the fuss and nervousness about? Qin Yu's voice suddenly sounded. The hands of the 3 big toads who were about to form the seal suddenly stopped and looked at Qin Yu with a relaxed look on his face. Completely unable to calm down, he hurriedly looked at Sanwei. When he saw the 3 tails regaining consciousness, he called out to Uchiha-sama in an unusually meek tone. The 3 giant toads were directly petrified on the spot. This horse is brainwashed. No. If it were the speed of brainwashing, it would be too fast. Just staring for a moment, thinking about it makes people feel chills running down their spines. Okay, this is so awkward for Uchiha-sama. Qin Yu rolled his eyes. He didn't expect that the 3 tails would be so unruly and change their tune so quickly. Let's call him Mr. Qin from now on. Also, your body is a bit too big. You should be able to become as big as a rag doll. Qin Yu started making gestures as he spoke. That move seemed like he was planning to take the three tails with him. Boy, I'm giving you a lot of respect by calling you Uchiha-sama, but you also turned me into a rag doll. Where's the dignity of my tailed beast? The chakra in the three tails rose to the sky. It felt like a man who could not be killed or humiliated. The three big toads couldn't help but take half a step back. Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, whether you plan to continue to go in and use it as a cutting board or fish and reflect, or to be sealed into a urinal now, you can choose for yourself. Seeing Chinyu looking up and down with great interest, Sanwei couldn't help but tremble all over. He quickly put on a flattering look on his face and said, Master Chin, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. In fact, our tailed beasts were quite cute when we were young. You don't know, the raccoon cat and the fox are just too tame like that, and they're always fighting. At that time, it was better for me to be a good person and break up the fight, otherwise they wouldn't grow up. Looking at the three tails who are talking about running trains, no matter it is the three big toads, Loquat Juzo and all the mist ninjas who were still watching the battle were completely petrified. The tailed beast was very skillful and flattering, but it made them feel inferior. The next moment, seeing Loquat Juzo transforming into a mascot-like, extremely cute appearance, he couldn't help but slap the Kiri ninja next to him. Tell me, you're not in pain right now, you're just dreaming. The Kirito ninja on the side looked like he was crying, covering his cheek and said, Can I say it hurts? And why don't you hit yourself? I'm the one who got hurt. Chinyu didn't take it to heart about everyone's shock. He motioned for the three tails to land on his shoulders. After adjusting the size several times, he finally looked at the three big toads with satisfaction. Taiwan, I have to thank you very much this time, otherwise I wouldn't be able to solve it. Gamabunta's cheeks were twitching. After witnessing with his own eyes, Chinyu jerked off the majestic tailed beast like a cat. He didn't believe Chinyu's nonsense. Boy, stop talking nonsense. With your strength, you are enough to deal with the three tails. Gamabunta took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, You are planning to pass the three tails matter this time, so as to convince us. Since you know the existence of Fukasaku and Shima, do you plan to learn the art of sage like Jiraiya? Look at Gamabunta who can fully use his imagination. Chinyu smiled warmly and said, You are half right. However, I must learn the art of immortality. I know that you will think that I have bad intentions, but it is not your decision to make the decision on this matter. You can go back and propose it to the two adults. Maybe they will agree. Having said this, Chinyu paused and continued, Also, tell them that the world is about to change. Gamabunta's expression changed, as did the two big toads behind him. These words were very vague, but they had also lived for a long time, so of course they knew what Chinyu meant by these words. After the three big toads looked at each other, Toadbunta snorted coldly and said, Don't worry, I will tell you these things. Forget it this time, don't summon us randomly next time. Without saying these words, the three big toads directly lifted the psychic technique. These three stupid toads, I don't know what their expressions will be when they meet other tailed beasts next time they are summoned. The three tails said gloatingly. Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, I'm hungry. Go and catch 2 fish for me. Let the tailed beast catch fish. Loquat Juzong just rushed over after seeing the battle end. Seeing the three-tail fart, I really ran to catch it. The whole person almost staggered and fell to the ground like a dog. As the 7 ninja swordsmen in the Mist Ninja Village, he is also considered one of the top leaders. Of course I know that on weekdays, this tailed beast is worshipped like a great god in the village. Now it's good. The relationship and status in front of Chinyu are completely reversed. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never believe it. Sir, may I ask if you have any other instructions? Loquat Juzong came back to his senses. Even the majestic tailed beast has such a low profile, and it doesn't dare to be so presumptuous. Nothing happens for the time being. Chinyu waved his hand, sat down on the rock, and then raised his brows and said, By the way, there seems to be a newcomer in your Mist Ninja Village named Mikigaki Kisame. Find him for me. If you can bring it to me, that would be the best. If you can't do that, just contact me and I'll go there myself. Dried persimmon Kisame. Loquat Juzong couldn't help but be startled, and immediately said, Sir, are you talking about the shark face under the pufferfish ghost? That guy is quite simple. He is always fooled by the pufferfish ghosts, but he is very strong. I heard he is qualified to compete for the position of the 7 ninja swordsmen. As one of the few Super S-class rebellious ninjas in the Mist Ninja Village, Kisame Inugangaki is still here, both in the original work and here. Personal appearance, and outstanding strength, the truth that gold will still shine is absolutely unmistakable. Juzong, you are wrong. Qin Yu shook his head and said, he will be stronger than you. Someone is coming, please leave first. Chapter 77 What a hell this horse riding thing is. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Will he be stronger than us? Loquat Juzong's expression changed slightly, however, he did not dare to question Qin Yu's words. I could only turn around and walk away with my heart full of confusion. As for whether he would rebel or whether Loquat Juzong would never return, Qin Yu didn't care. If you are not afraid of death, you can try it. Qin Yu, are you okay? 3 figures rushed out of the woods, looking dusty. Along the way, since Namikaze Minato had never been to this area before, he did not leave the Flying Thunder magic seal, so he had to bite the bullet and come quickly. After almost a day of crazy driving, Kakashi and Uchiha Obito couldn't breathe easily. It can be said that they arrived on the battlefield without any strength to fight. Don't worry, everything has been solved. The people are over there. Qin Yu glanced at Kakashi and the others and rushed towards the collapsed cliff. When the 3 big toads and the 3 tails were fighting just now, Qin Yu took the opportunity to use Susanoo to secretly hide Noara Lin and set up a barrier. Counting the time now, it's almost time to wake up. Minato-sensei, wait for us. Uchiha Obito took a few quick breaths before taking sour steps. Unfortunately, like Kakashi, he fell to the ground just after taking a few steps. He didn't even have the strength to move half a step. Hey, you guys stay here for now, I'll go take a look. Namikaze Minato sighed helplessly. Qin Yu is 2 years older than Kakashi and Uchiha Obito, but the difference in strength is really incomparable. Qin Yu, thank you for saving me. As soon as Namikaze Minato regained his footing, he saw Noara Lin running towards Qin Yu's arms. Those 2 softballs made Qin Yu startled. It seems that this is the benefit of saving beauty. Ahem, how long are you going to hug me? If those 2 guys see it, I'm worried that they won't be able to bear the burps. Namikaze Minato coughed dryly. As a teacher, he could certainly see the ambiguity between the 3 students. What if, let them know that the woman they had traveled thousands of miles to save had thrown herself into the arms of another man? That feeling is probably more uncomfortable than death. Teacher Minato, what are you talking about? There is nothing between Qin Yu and me. Noara Lin said with a slight blush on her cheeks. It's really nothing. I just saved him twice and didn't promise him anything. Qin Yu laughed dryly. Qin Yu, you. Noara Lin's cheeks turned even redder, and her head was almost buried in the steamed bun. Namikaze Minato rolled his eyes helplessly and said, it seems that those 2 boys have no chance of being your opponents. Let's get back to the topic. What was the cause of the big explosion just now? On the way there, they saw the impact of the tailed beast Jade from a distance, which directly overturned the mountain. This large-scale attack method can be seen by anyone who is not blind. I just knew that as soon as Qin Yu appeared, I passed out for no reason. Noara Lin said with an embarrassed look. However, this can't be blamed on her. She was held hostage along the way and was constantly subjected to illusions and hypnosis in order to prepare for becoming a Jinchuriki. For Noara Lin, her mental strength was completely overdrawn, and it was good to be able to wake up briefly. Here, I met the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kushikushimaru, and the 3rd Mizukage. Qin Yu did not hide it. He knew very well that the relationship between the 3 big toads and Jiraiya would definitely leak these things out. Rather than being exposed, it is better to take the initiative to explain. Qin Yu also wanted to see how Konoha would treat him next. Are you talking about the most mysterious 3rd-generation Mizukage in the Kiri Ninja Village? Namikaze Minato's expression changed drastically. In his eyes, a shadow-level powerhouse would not appear on the battlefield casually. The first is to stabilize the rear and coordinate the entire war situation. The second is to avoid being ambushed by other ninja villages. which would lead to unfavorable situations on the battlefield. Now, Chinyu told him that not only did he meet the 7 ninja swordsmen, but he also met the Mizukage of Mist Ninja Village. He is also the most mysterious 3rd generation Mizukage. If you don't hear it from your own ears, who would believe it? However, the next moment Minato Namikaze was confused. What if Noara Rin was captured by the Mist Ninja headed by the 3rd Mizukage? Then Chinyu's opponent will be the 3rd generation Mizukage. Now that Chinyu is standing here unscathed, there is probably only one outcome. Chinyu, did you repel the 3rd Mizukage? Namikaze Minato asked in shock. No. Chinyu shook his head and said, kill him accidentally. A small voice swept through the entire place like a hurricane at this moment. The first half of his words made Namikaze Minato secretly sigh in relief, but the second half almost crushed his heart. Noara Rin stood beside her in confusion, unable to react. The 5 Kage, as the strongest among the 5 great ninja villages, every Kage-level strongman has extraordinary strength. Once they appear on the battlefield, they can definitely change the situation of a battle. Now, Chinyu actually told them that he accidentally killed the 3rd generation Mizukage. This is too shocking. Chinyu, this joke is not funny. Namikaze Minato said with a stiff smile on his face. The 3rd Mizukage, why did you retreat? Looking at Minato Namikaze, who didn't want to believe it, Chinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, do I seem to be joking with you? The 3rd Mizukage is a Jinchuriki. I stripped off the 3 tails, and he is still there catching fish for me. Senseless. Both Noara Rin and Namikaze Minato were confused, looking at Chinyu, who was talking nonsense seriously. Namikaze Minato put on a smile and planned to pat Chinyu on the shoulder. The next moment, the roar came, causing Namikaze Minato's expression to change dramatically. Grandma, why are you staring at me with such idiotic eyes? I am your uncle Sanwei. Sanwei Isafu roared, clearly indicating that he was going berserk. Even the way he talks is full of grandpa and grandma. Namikaze Minato hurriedly followed the sound, and the tense voice almost broke. Seeing Kakashi and Uchiha Obito blocking the turtle with 3 tails and 2 fish in its mouth, my scalp felt numb. As a high-ranking member of the Konoha Ninja Village, he is the most likely successor to the Hokage. Of course, he has seen the portraits of the major-tailed beasts. The scene in front of me was like hell. Chapter 78. It's so delicious that the tailed beast also opened 3 times. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kakashi, Obito, shut up. Namikaze Minato roared urgently. The moment the Flying Thunder God Jutsu was cast, they appeared in front of Kakashi and Obito like ghosts. The violent scene made the 2 of them stunned. Unfortunately, the transformation spell was instantly lifted and transformed into a ferocious tortoise that was tens of meters in size. Both of their feet and stomachs were shaking. Damn it! They were actually teasing a tailed beast just now. This horse riding means living too long and getting tired of living. Boy, the majesty of the tailed beast must not be violated. Bear my endless anger. The 3 tails looked up to the sky and roared. The loud sound blew the surrounding leaves away, making people's eardrums feel like they were being torn apart. Seeing the rampaging tailed beast, Kakashi and Uchiha Obito were so exhausted that they couldn't even stand firmly. As soon as the wind blew down, it became the straw that broke the camel's back and he fell to the ground. Namikaze Minato held the Flying Thunder God Kunai in his hand and was crying in agony. What he is best at is the art of Flying Thunder God. Now that he has not sealed the 9 tails, he cannot use the 9 tails mode at all. There is no time to learn the immortal mode, and there is no means of mass destruction. There is no way to deal with such a huge-tailed beast. Shao-san, don't scare them. You can use fire escape. Get me a fire. I want to grill fish. Chinyu used the teleportation technique and appeared next to Sanwei's feet. He raised his hand and patted the back. The 3 tails, which were originally filled with ferocious flames and murderous intent, were instantly frightened. Master Chin, please wait a moment. I'm going to make a fire now. The 3 tails instantly transformed back to the size of a mascot. In the eyes of all the petrified people, he skipped to the woods to collect firewood. They were right, this was the legendary and extremely ferocious tailed beast. This horse-riding life has become the rhythm of era. Chinyu, can you tell me, is this your illusion? Namikaze Minato asked stiffly. Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, if you want to give it a try, I can ask my mistress to give you a slap in the face. You have been traveling all day, so you must be hungry. Let's have the special grilled fish today. After saying these words, Chinyu turned around and entered the forest to look for ingredients. Minato-sensei, do you have any pants on? I think my pants were wet by Sanbai's saliva just now. Uchiha Obito said, shivering. He still looked frightened. Namikaze Minato came back to his senses, and after barely calming down the shock in his heart, he rolled his eyes and said, if Sanbai Isho knew that you said its saliva smelled like urine, you probably wouldn't be able to plug its teeth. So, go aside and clean yourself up. Don't be embarrassed again. Kakashi also barely recovered and said, coward. Kakashi, what are you talking about? Someone fell down just now and someone's legs were shaking. Aren't I a little worse than you and got my pants wet? Obito Uchiha glared after taking the backpack thrown by Minato Namikaze. He glanced at it and said, if you dare, you can do the same as Chinyu and find the head and tail beast to cook. I will call you daddy. After leaving these words, Uchiha rushed out in a hurry. He felt that his pants were not only wet, but also had some sticky stuff stuck to his buttocks. Half an hour later the fire was set up, 4 large fish nearly half a meter long were cut into pieces, cleaned, and grilled over the fire. There is a large iron pot next to it, which is boiling tempting soup. Cooked inside are wild mushrooms, wild vegetables, red peppers and other ingredients picked by Sanwei in the woods. Every time you turn it, it exudes a spicy and spicy taste. The 4 plump big fish had already been roasted until their skins were crispy and golden in color, paired with the secret medicinal spice powder that Chinyu brought out in Konoha village, some grass fruits, star anise, etc., and sprinkle some sesame oil from time to time. The aroma can be said to hit the taste buds directly. Teacher Minato, Chinyu is not going to put the 4 fishes in that spicy soup. I'm afraid he won't be able to eat them, right? Uchiha Obito had just finished cleaning and rushed back to see this scene. Superficial. Namikaze Minato rolled his eyes and said, if it weren't for the training of ninjas that delayed Chinyu, there would be no Ichiraku ramen in Konoha Ninja Village now. I'm afraid those who do it by hand will lose their jobs and become apprentices. Namikaze Minato had tasted Chinese food in the Northwest Pass. As for the mutton steamed buns and the hand-grilled meat, the taste is still in my mind, especially looking at Sanwei who was on the side, drooling and his eyes were shining. Namikaze Minato knew that there would be a tough battle ahead. Minato-sensei, do you think it's true? Noera Lin couldn't hold back her anger. They often visit the most famous Ichiraku ramen in Konoha. Now Minato Namikaze gave such a high evaluation to the spicy soup in front of them, which was a bit difficult for them to accept. When they usually go out on a mission, they kill a fish at random and put it on the fire, or just eat any dry food. There is no such thing as Chinyu, who still has leisure time on the battlefield and makes such complicated rations. Okay. After Chinyu looked at the 4 fish, he placed the 4 fish in the prepared soup base in full view of everyone. Then the fire was slightly increased, and as soon as the spicy soup rolled down, a handful of herbs and a handful of plump green onions were sprinkled on top. The various mixed ingredients, tumbling in the spicy soup, emit flavors that are perfectly combined. Sanwei's body shape was obviously that of a 3 or 4-year-old child. The forked tail, clamped between the chopsticks, was clamped down like lightning. A large piece of fish with a tender skin and tender inside was sandwiched directly into the soup, stained with chili soup, topped with some herbs and fat wild onions. It was put directly into Sanwei's mouth, the moment you enter the mouth. The spiciness mixed with the taste of many medicinal materials detonates on the taste buds, paired with the crispy skin and tender fish meat, lets Sanwei swallow it instantly. Okay, is it delicious? Noera Lin couldn't help but ask, looking at the majestic tailed beasts and squatting aside to eat with them. This kind of life experience is too shocking. When I return to the village, I will definitely be able to brag about it for the rest of my life. Grandpa, I and the tailed beast competed for jobs back then. It's not delicious, it's really not delicious. Sanwei La's eyes were filled with tears. However, as he said so, the remaining 2 tails were obviously well trained, holding 3 pairs of chopsticks, opened 3 times directly. Damn you, you're not honest when you're a tailed beast, I won't believe you. Namikaze Minato suddenly woke up. It's not delicious, but it's still open. Who would believe it? The moment he picked up his chopsticks and snatched a piece of fish from his mouth, Namikaze Minato finally understood. It's so delicious that even a tailed beast eats it 3 times. This horse riding is a delicacy in the world. Chapter 79. You missed one person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Crazy. Looking at the majestic tailed beast, and Minato Namikaze, who is known as the most likely to inherit the position of the 4th Hokage, grabbed food from the mouth of the tailed beast completely regardless of the image. Kakashi and Noara Rin finally lost their composure. When I took my first bite, I finally understood that the tailed beast was not only vicious, but also cunning. I also understand why Namikaze Minato said that Ichiraku ramen was nothing in front of Chinyu. Looking at the 4 people and 1 beast in front of them, their faces were so hot that they were covered in sweat. They wiped their faces and stuffed them into their mouths as hard as they could. That was a scene that completely disregarded image. Chinyu finally understood what online dating and hot pot meant, and he was overturned as soon as he tried it. This look of devouring food, coupled with the sweaty face, made it impossible to resist the makeup technique, one of the 3 evil arts in Southeast Asia. If they knew that this was just the tip of the iceberg of Chinese delicacies, they might have to pay Chinyu's food expenses for the rest of their lives. After a hearty meal, Sanbai and Uchiha Obito ran to get a lot of river fish back. I planned to cook it in accordance with the law, but unfortunately after trying it one after another, I could only get the shape but not the soul of the fish. In the end, he just stared at Chinyu like a resentful woman. 4 fish, 5 people, and 1 tailed beast, this is indeed not enough. Okay, the time is almost up and we should set off. This is the border of the Kingdom of Water. The murder of the 3rd Mizukage will be discovered by them soon. If we continue to stay here, we will only become targets of attacks. Minato Namikaze dusted himself off and stood up. After resting for most of the night, they also recovered a lot of strength and chakra. Moreover, Namikaze Minato did not want to expose Chinyu's capture of the 3 tails to the outside world too early. After all, apart from Chinyu, the only person who could do such a thing was the 1st Hokage. However, the 1st Hokage suppressed the tailed beasts, but every one of them was unruly. However, in front of him, Chinyu trained the 3 tails into 2 ha. This is completely incomparable. Boss, get me something to eat. You get me some grilled fish. I'll chop 10 people for you. They'll be bloody. Sanweiji stroked his 3 tails and squatted on Chinyu's shoulder to pat him. Chest said. Chinyu rolled his eyes and said, Glutty, you are so big, how can I feed you? If you talk anymore, you will have to eat raw fish for me from now on. Let's go now and save some energy for me. Oh, faced with this scolding, Sanwei was instantly frightened. It is a tailed beast that lives on chakra and does not actually need to eat. However, after trying the special grilled fish, I obviously have more appetite. Looking at the 3 tails who were lying on Chinyu's shoulders, talking about each other without saying a word, Minato Namikaze smiled bitterly and grabbed his hair. He is so difficult. Konoha Ninja Village. Inside the Hokage building, the originally dark office was lit up. Rapid footsteps rushed into the office. In addition to the 3rd Hokage, there are also Mito Menon and Koharu, and even Shimura Danzo is not left behind. Sarutobi, why did you summon us urgently in the middle of the night? Danzo Shimura snorted dissatisfiedly and said, It can't be that your failure in commanding on the battlefield caused any emergency. This will put your position as Hokage in jeopardy. Looking at Danzo, who was talking about the position of Hokage, the 3rd Hokage rolled his eyes helplessly and said, Something big did happen on the battlefield. However, it was not our Konoha Ninja Village, but the 3rd Mizukage of the Mist Ninja Village who was killed. The low voice seemed to be filled with magic sound at this moment, causing the expressions of the 3 consultants present to change dramatically. A shadow-level powerhouse represents the leader of a village and is also the greatest support and strength on the battlefield. However, now the 3rd Hokage actually told them that the most mysterious 3rd Mizukage had been killed. This means that the war between the Kingdom of Water and the Kingdom of Fire will come to an end. Sarutobi, your information is correct, why didn't I detect it? Danzo asked urgently. Could this be a smoke bomb deliberately released by the Mist Ninja Village? so that you could be fooled and defeat our Konoha battlefield in one fell swoop. Mito Manabu and Koharu, who transferred to the dormitory, also nodded in agreement. Sarutobi, what Danzo said is correct. There is no basis for this kind of thing. If a misjudgment is made, it will be a fatal blow to us in Konoha. Mito Kaduin said solemnly. No, the third Mizukage of the Mist Ninja Village died in the hands of our Konoha people. The third Hokage's tone became solemn. The expressions of Mito Kadoyan and the other three people suddenly changed drastically. Danzo couldn't help but said, Sarutobi, do you know what nonsense you are talking about? According to my information, the third Mizukage is a Jinchuriki. The person who can kill him needs to be at least Kage level. In Konoha, except for the former Sannin, you and me, Minato, cannot do this. As soon as Danzo opened his mouth, he ignored them. Mito Kabuto and Koharu, who moved to bed, didn't pay attention. After all, they were different from Danzo. In order to become Hokage, the former constantly tries to find ways to enhance his strength. They are just so-called consultants, obviously different. Wrong, you underestimated someone. Jiraiya walked out. The person who killed the third Mizukage was Uchiha Chinyu, and he also captured the three tails. A small voice swept through the entire place like a hurricane at this moment. The expressions of Danzo and the three people changed dramatically. A moment ago, Danzo was bragging that to kill the third Mizukage, he would at least need to be as powerful as him. Now Jiraiya came out and told them that a kid who was only 14 or 15 years old had actually reached the height they had been training for half a lifetime. This is too much to accept. Jiraiya, is everything you said true? Danzo couldn't hold back his anger. In his eyes, Chinyu came from the Uchiha clan. No. It should be said that anyone who threatens him to become Hokage is a stumbling block. This is the information Minato asked Toad to send back to me. Jiraiya took out 2 scrolls. There is also one of them, the 3 giant toads from Mtlnovel, when Chinyu was fighting against the third Mizukage. The third Mizukage was counterattacked by the tailed beast. After Chinyu summoned 3 giant toads to suppress the 3 tails, he used the Manjikyu Sharingan to suppress it. Summon 3 giant toads at once. The people present were stunned. In their eyes, this was simply unbelievable. Channeling the 3 major psychic beasts at once requires not only a huge amount of chakra, but also a high level of understanding of psychic techniques. In Danzo's opinion, except for the first generation Hokage and Uchiha Madara, the god of ninja, it is somewhat possible. I can't think of a third person. Now, Jiraiya actually told them that Chinyu had done it. This was beyond their expectation. Jiraiya, you said Uchiha Chinyu also successfully captured the tailed beast. Could it be that he has mastered a powerful sealing technique? Danzo said anxiously, as the powerful tailed beast weapons of the ninja village, they certainly know how difficult it is to seal the tailed beast. If you are not a person with the physique of the Uzumaki clan, act as a Jinchuriki. I am afraid that like other villages, it will take the lives of many ninjas from the sealing class to be able to do it. Now, Chinyu had captured the tailed beast by himself, which was truly astonishing. No, the information Minato sent back is very strange. It seems that the 3 tails were not sealed and were successfully seduced by Chinyu with delicious food. Jiraiya touched the back of his head and said with a wry smile. Chapter 80. It's no longer your time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Have you been successfully seduced by delicious food? The third Hokage and others looked stagnant. This was completely beyond their expectations. Jiraiya, are you kidding me? Danzo said coldly, tailed beasts are extremely vicious existences. Haven't you seen the Nine Tails riot? To conquer the 3 tails with delicious food is simply a fool's errand. Slightly hysterical words echoed in the office. Faced with these words, the third Hokage and others nodded in agreement. I don't want to believe it either. Look at this photo. Jiraiya took out a photo of a picnic and immediately attracted the attention of the third Hokage and others. However, when they saw the 3 tails that had transformed into the same size as Era, holding chopsticks between their tails, they were fighting with humans over food. His cheeks couldn't help but twitch. This horse riding is too devoid of the dignity of a tailed beast. Do you believe it? Jiraiya said with a wry smile, when I first received this information, I also suspected that Minato was joking. I was still thinking about whether to report it, but after Fukasaku-sama of MT Miyaboku contacted me afterwards, I decided to hold an emergency meeting. Being able to tame a tailed beast to this extent is not something that ordinary people can do. Listening to these words, both the third Hokage and Danzo's 3 advisors fell into silence. The information in front of them was indeed far beyond their imagination. If they hadn't heard it with their own ears, who would be willing to believe it? The majestic tailed beast will be so convinced by humans who have always hated it. Jiraiya, you must have some thoughts on reporting this matter in person. The third Hokage suddenly spoke. If we say that a moment ago, Chinyu was just an outstanding genius ninja among the Uchiha clan, so, now kill the third Mizukage and capture the 3 tails. But it means that his strength has risen to the same level as theirs. This is a combat force that cannot be ignored. Teacher, you should know very well what I think. Jiraiya had a rare serious look on his face. How should we, Konoha, treat him? Mito Kadoyan and Koharu's expressions changed slightly. As consultants, they are not stupid, but they know how to weigh the pros and cons. Now the strength displayed by Uchiha Chinyu is enough to threaten the safety of a ninja village. If you want to deal with it, you need to make an immediate decision. Humph, he killed the third Mizukage and snatched the 3 tails secretly. Once word spreads, it will be a serious crime. Danzo snorted coldly. Don't forget, the third ninja war was caused by the disappearance of the third Kazekage, which caused the Suna ninja village to go berserk and put suspicion on us. Now, the battlefield in Sand Ninja Village has just stabilized a little. If they find out that Uchiha Chinyu killed the third Mizukage, the crime of the third Kazekage will be directly placed on our heads. When the time comes, the Mist Ninja the village and the Suna Ninja village and us Konoha will start a desperate battle, and what awaits us will be a devastating ending. The slightly lengthy words echoed in the office, making everyone's expressions look more solemn. Danzo's words may seem a bit violent, but they are nevertheless a fact. Sarutobi, what Danzo said makes sense. Mito Kabuto agreed. Koharu, who was sleeping next to him, also nodded in agreement. This scene put a sneer on Danzo's face. As a hero, to dominate something, the most basic thing is to control a situation. Now, he has clearly achieved it. The third Hokage's expression darkened and he did not respond immediately, saying, Jiraiya, what do you think? This question instantly brought Jiraiya into focus. Jiraiya, I advise you to take the overall situation into consideration. Any words you say now will be related to the fate of Konoha. As a Sannin, you need to know the choice. Danzo reminded coldly, however, anyone can hear the slightest hint of threat in the words. I think you should be kind to Uchiha Chinyu, he has a terrifying talent. Jiraiya ignored Danzo at all and said, if the first Hokage allowed us to establish Konoha, then Uchiha Chinyu will do it for us. The rise of Konoha plays a key role. Rise of Konoha. This time even the third Hokage's expression changed. As the current Hokage, he has never been praised like this before, especially the cynical Jiraiya rarely speaks in such a serious manner. Now, it has subverted their understanding. Bastard! Danzo yelled angrily. Jiraiya, do you know what you are talking about? If it weren't for Uchiha Madara, Hashirama-sama would have died of illness. Now we in Konoha have unified the 5 major ninja villages. How dare you now compare a descendant of a Konoha sinner to Lord Hashirama? This is a grave sin. As soon as the words fell, Danzo took a step forward and appeared in front of Jiraiya like a ghost. His right hand was like a poisonous snake, grabbing directly at Jiraiya's shoulder. Boom. White mist shrouded, Jiraiya used the substitute technique and disappeared out of thin air. What Danzo held in his hand was obviously a piece of dead wood. The blow missed, making Danzo's cheek obviously unable to hang on. With twitching, he hurriedly turned around and looked behind him. Jiraiya, you have slandered Lord Hashirama's reputation. Don't you know it even now? Danzo said angrily. However, looking at this scene, Jiraiya didn't take it to heart at all and said, Duanzo, you didn't even see through the substitution technique I used. You are already old. It is the younger generation that will support Konoha in the future, not stubborn people like you. It is precisely because of your thoughts that there will be constant disputes within Konoha Ninja Village. At this point, a sound of breaking through the air came from behind Danzo. The wooden stand he had originally grabbed turned into the second Jiraiya with a bang, his hands suddenly formed a seal, and a head of silver hair quickly wrapped around Danzo's body like a poisonous snake. Danzo's expression suddenly changed. He never expected that Jiraiya would use this method. Being caught off guard and so close, it was impossible to resist. In an instant, he was wrapped tightly by Needle Jizo. Duanzo, you can't even defeat me, so you are even less qualified to challenge him. Jiraiya quickly lifted the ninjutsu and said coldly, now is not your time. The low voice echoed in the office, and even Mito Kadoyan and Koharu, who had gone to bed, changed their expressions.